neurological disorders in children like migraine, and for seizures, that is convulsions. In the seizures, the continuation is the main priority should be to ensure that they are safe and not and they do not get hurt. That means the children should be safe and they should not get any hurt. In order to provide this, we should that ease them to the ground if possible to avoid a severe fall that hurt them, and put them on the something soft under their head to avoid the injuries. And they should be then when they are having seizures, they should move them. We should move them from large objects and like hard furniture, sharp edges and hard surfaces which injure them, and remove any small or hard objects or sharp objects that are around them, and should loosen the tight clothing and around the neck and chest, and make sure that they are breathing properly, and remove eyeglasses or sunglasses, and similarly remove any clothing items that surround them which may accidentally wind around their neck and suffocate them. And as soon as you can roll them on one of their side, that means you should keep a lateral position till the patient is recovered. And you should, what we should not do absolutely means, we should hold the person down or attempt to restrain them in any way. Should not hold the patient upright down. This is very dangerous for everyone involved, as a person experiencing a seizure cannot control their movement, attempt to put anything in their mouth. A popular myth suggests that inserting a wooden spoon will prevent the individual from swallowing their tongue or biting it. That means we should, in hospital, we will have the tongue depressors or wooden spatulas. We can use them, or mouth gag we can use to in order to prevent the swallowing of the tongue or biting of the tongue. And this will also prevent from biting, hurting the teeth and gums. And usually we should have a attempt to perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation if necessary, and a breathing problem is existed, and the seizures till the seizures will subside. And it is very important that to stay calm throughout the procedure, and do not forget to note the time of the seizure. And it is a crucial step because the seizure lasts for more than 5 minutes means it is dangerous, and we should call for the ambulance and should shift the patient to the emergency or care to the hospital. If you see the seizures, focal seizures and non-focal seizures, we have previously told. Under focal seizures, again it is divided into three types, that is simple focal seizures, complex focal seizures, and secondary generalized seizures. Coming to the simple focal seizures, a person experiencing one of these may exhibit twitchiness, particularly in the face muscle, and may think that they are smelling or tasting something strange and similar to the absence seizure. The simple focal seizure does not require any special intervention and normally lasts between few seconds and a couple of minutes. Here, the simple focal seizures usually you see only the movements in the face and eye lashes and eye twitchings or facial twitchings you can see, and it is lasts for only few seconds or couple 2 or 1 or 2 minutes. Coming to the complex focal seizures, this seizure type will make the person feel confused or disoriented. Here the person is confused and disoriented, and they may not be able to respond clearly to the questions or any kind of interaction. They can't answer. If you notice that someone is experiencing a complex focal seizure, stay calm, try to direct them to some place safe that is safe for them, and do not leave them until seizures has subsided. Usually these seizures are from about 2 minutes and they have retained full awareness. And coming to the general secondary generalized seizures, these are typically start out as a regular focal seizures and only evolve into the generalized tonic clonic seizure. In this case, they should follow some guidelines. Coming to the epilepsy, next one is the epilepsy in children. Epilepsy is also a type of convulsions. That is, coming to the epilepsy in children, definition, it is a transient occurrence of signs or symptoms due to abnormal excessive pattern of excitability and synchrony among neurons in select brain areas. This is epilepsy is a disease condition in which there are signs and symptoms of abnormal excessive excitability due to excessive excitability and synchrony which is occurred in the neurons of the brain that will cause the epileptic seizure. Epilepsy means it is a persistent epileptogenic abnormality of brain that is able to spontaneously generate paroxysmal activity, and recurrent seizures will not be provoked by systemic or acute neurological disease. And here epilepsy syndrome, it is nothing but it is a complex of signs and symptoms that define a unique epileptic condition. Syndrome means it is complex of signs and symptoms in the epileptic condition. Coming to the incidence, here 1 in 26 people will develop epilepsy during their lifetime, and more common one is autism, cerebral epilepsy palsy, and Parkinson's disease. This epilepsy accounts for about 1% of the global burden of disease by the WHO, equal to burden of lung carcinoma in men and breast cancer in women. The highest at the extremes of life is first year of life in elderly. Risk of having at least one seizure in lifetime is 10%, and one third will develop epilepsy. And 2.2 millions of Americans and 65 millions of worldwide will have this epilepsy condition. The incidence is usually 1 in 26 during the lifetime they will have. And the highest extremities of life is first year of life and in elderly. That means the new during the infancy and in old age usually they'll have this. Coming to the syndromes defined by clinical features, seizure type, age of onset, family history, EEG findings, diagnostic investigations, treatment. These are you can see the syndrome defined by these clinical features and the onset of the disease and the family history, EEG findings and the investigations. Mesial temporal lobe epilepsy with hippocampal sclerosis. This is Rasmussen syndrome, and galactic seizures with hypothalamic hematoma, and hemiconvulsion, hemiplegia, and epilepsy. Epilepsies that do not fit into any of these diagnostic categories can be distinguished first on the basis of the presence or absence of the structural or metabolic condition, and usually these are attributed to the organized by structural metabolic causes, and usually due to malformation of the cortical development and neurocutaneous syndromes. There will be formation of tumors, infection, trauma, angioma, and peristaltic installs and stroke. These are commonly we can see. Conditions with epileptic seizures that are traditionally not diagnosed as epilepsy or benign neonatal seizures, febrile seizures, stigma of epilepsy, compromised quality of life, and lower self esteem, vulnerable children, high incidence of depression, anxiety, and learning problems, adverse effects of medications, parental stress, and treatment here. This epilepsy is not controlled by treatment, means mostly the rest and sleep and non-violence, maintaining their um, uh, habitual life style modification without any stress. This is only the regular treatment. Next one is the meningitis. Meningitis, it is the inflammation of the brain that cover the brain and the spinal cord. It is caused by bacterial or viral infection. Viral in meningitis is less severe and it will clear up with the specific treatment. Whereas coming to the bacterial meningitis, it is very quite and severe and may result in brain damage, hearing loss, or learning disabilities. And important for bacterial, one should know which type of bacterial will cause the meningitis. Some antibiotics can prevent some type of spreading and infecting. This will infect other people also. In 1990s, type B influenza was leading cause of the bacterial meningitis, and the hip vaccine is given to all children as part of the immunization routine. Coming to the age, viral meningitis occur in children younger than 5. Bacterial is most commonly occur in preteens and young adults. Community setting. This infection spreads quickly in large groups such as college students living in dormitories, military personnel and children in childcare facilities or at high risk. Coming to the pregnancy, increased risk of Listeriosis, which is bacteria which this bacteria can also cause the meningitis in the pregnancy. Working with animals, that is dairy farmers, ranchers or others who work with domestic animals have a increased risk of listeriosis and which will cause the meningitis. And weakened immune system, diseases, medications and surgical procedures that weaken the immune system also will cause this meningitis. The causes are viral, bacterial, community setting infections. A large infection spread by the in the colleges, dormitories, and military personnel and children in child care. This and pregnancy also sometimes it is a risk, and working with some of the animals like daily farmers and domestic animals and medications used in some diseases and surgical procedures also cause this meningitis. The common symptoms are over the age of 2 years old, then high fever, headache and stiff neck can develop more several hours or take up to 1 or 2 days. The other symptoms are nausea, vomiting and discomfort, looking in bright lights, confusion and sleepiness. Newborns, infants, common symptoms are high fever, headache, neck stiffness, appear slow, inactive, vomiting, irritable or feeding poorly. Early diagnosis is very important. If symptoms occur, patient should seek medical help immediately. Diagnosis is made by retrieving growing bacterial from a sample of spinal fluid. By performing a spinal tap, spinal fluid is obtained through a needle. The needle is inserted in the lower back where the fluid in the spinal cord can be retrieved. This one you know, this is lumbar puncture procedure. Other cultures are testing of blood samples, urine and mucus and pus of the skin infections. MRI scan also it is one of the tests here we can do, and CT scan and structures we can know the pictures of the structures inside. And the treatment, coming to the treatment, effective antibiotics treatment should be started early as soon as possible, and most common type of bacterial meningitis should reduce the risk of death below 15%. And usually it is spread from person to person, respiratory or throat secretions, coughing, sneezing, kissing, not spread by casual contact. The spread is usually from person to person, that is contagious, and respiratory or throat secretions, coughing, sneezing, and kissing. But it cannot spread through casual contact or breathing in air where the person has the meningitis. Some the meningitis have spread further by contact with the person of the meningitis. Examples of household or daycare centers. People who are in close contact should receive the antibiotics to prevent them. And usually the prophylactic and antibiotic also will be given in this meningitis, and the household contacts should be given the hip vaccination to protect themselves. Inflammation of the membranes, meninges that cover the brain and spinal cord. whereas the viral infections are most common cause of meningitis and bacterial is the secondary cause only. The other common causes are fungi, parasite and non-infectious causes. Viral aseptic meningitis, it is a serious but not fatal with people with healthy immune systems. Symptoms will last from 7 to 10 days and patient will completely recover from this after 10 days. And usually it is caused by enteroviruses. Most people that are infected with enteroviruses have no symptoms and when they get and they may get cold, rash or mouth sores with a low fever. Small percentage of people will be infected with the entero infections will develop meningitis. The other viral infections can lead to mumps also. And herpes simplex virus, chickenpox, measles and influenza, etc. Arboviruses, that is mosquitoes and other insects, can spread the viral meningitis. The common symptoms can appear quickly to take several days to appear. Infections can show after cold, diarrhea, running nose, vomiting, and others. This is common in infants, fever, irritability, poor eating, and hard to awake. We can see these symptoms. And common in older children and adults, we can see high fever, severe headache, stiff neck, sensitive to bright lights, sleepiness, or trouble waking up, nausea, and vomiting. Loss of appetite are caused by the spread of the rodents. Coming to the laboratory test of the patient, that is lumbar puncture, that is spinal investigations, we can see. This test will reveal the patient if it is if infected with virus or bacterium, and it is difficult to relieve exact virus and similar um, form of the viral or bacterial forms. And virus is very severe and can be fatal. Important to have their spinal fluid tested. Patients may have to stay in hospital if weakened immune system or severe diseases. And here in this condition there is no specific treatment. Patient recovers time usually is 2 weeks. Antibiotics do not help viral infections. Recommendations from doctor is bed rest, plenty of fluids, and usually the different viruses spread in different ways. Enteroviruses are more common, and direct contact with the infected person's stool and virus can spread through children that are not at the toilet trained. Coming to the virus issue, could be spread of viral infections. Then virus can be spread through direct or indirect contact with respiratory system as saliva, sputum, or nasal mucosa of the infected individual. Example, by kissing, shaking hands of infected person, touching objects of infected person, or rubbing nose of mouth are touched of the same object. Viruses can stay on surfaces for days and they can be transferred to objects. Also spread through air through droplets from the person's cough, spread through adults changing infected infants diapers. We should for they this will cause the infections and they should practice good hygiene practices. Wash your hands thoroughly, cleaning contaminated surfaces, while coughing or sneezing, avoid kissing or sharing utensils, drinking glasses, lipstick or other personal items. Vaccinations should be done. For the hip vaccine, avoid bites from mosquitoes or other insects. Keep home clean to avoid rodent infestations. Coming to the bacterial meningitis, hip and MMR, polio vaccines, and this will protect against the pneumonia and epiglottitis, that is throat infections. And usually vaccination do not prevent against all disease but protect the people who might become sick. Hip vaccine protects against pneumonia. Hip vaccine will protect against the pneumonia, that is the lung infection, no? Epiglottis and the epiglottis, that is throat infections. So vaccination here it is to plays a vital role in order in preventing the diseases. Okay, thank you. We'll continue in the later session.